Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are at Challenge Daytona in the PTO 2020 Championship, brought to you by Captiva Spine, John Hall Chevrolet, USA Triathlon, Foundation Risk Partners, and the PTO, the Pro Triathletes Organization. Our next guest, Mr. Sam Appleton, joins us. How you doing, Sam?
Good, thanks, Bob. It's great to be here. I think this is actually my first face-to-face Breakfast with Bob. I think we've done
some radios.
Yeah, some radios over the phone and things. But yeah, it's great to be here in person.
Yeah, so did you get a chance to ride the course?
I did. I rode yesterday. I did about 2 hours out there. It's, it seems on paper really easy. Well, not easy. But
but it's flat.
Yeah, it's flat. But I think that back straight is super windy. So it's almost like 60 kilometers an hour on this front straight, and then you're pushing 320 watts going 40k an hour back that way. So, there is some variance, I think, that some people might not be expecting. And I think as well, like when you're in the time trial position for 80 kilometers, there's no muscle variance.
None.
It's if you ride for an hour and 40 minutes in the time trial position, pushing, a hard effort, it's not as easy as you think. You don't have the hills to break it up, stand in and out of the saddle, recruit different muscles and things.
Plus, there's when you have a 20-meter draft rule, there's no rest.
Yeah,
right. Resting, no standing up to get the shake out your back a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no reprieve. So I think that's going to definitely come into play on Sunday. Hopefully, I know there's a lot of ITU guys, and they're used to those. They're so strong at that in and out, that high power, low power, high power, low power. So, it'll be interesting to see on Sunday who fares best over that, that constant output.
Absolutely. And there's the mix between the ITU athletes and the 70.3 specialists and the full Ironman guys with $1.15 million online.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's great just to have a race, I guess. And the prize money as well, it's an added bonus, especially this year where it's been so hard for us to make and earn money. Yeah. A lot of guys survive on prize money alone, and this is going to be a huge injection. If you can have a good race, it can make the year.
100K.
Yeah, exactly. It's not bad, is it?
Yeah. So when you're doing a race like this, and there's a lot of people you have not raced before, do you do a little research and go online and say, okay, what's this guy's strength and weakness?
Yeah, absolutely. I love sport. I always follow ITU. I actually raced ITU for a few years in my late teens, early 20s, about 10, 12 years ago. So I've actually, I used to race guys like the Brownlees and Vincent Lewis and stuff. We're all similar age. Obviously, they've gone on and, been world dominating at the ITU. And yeah, I've always followed it. I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses, and I think the ITU guys are going to be great on the weekend. They train. The training might be a little bit different, but they can adapt, and I think it's it'll be interesting to see because it's the best Ironman athletes, the best middle distance, the best ITU athletes. So it's kind of like a amalgamation of all the distances in our sport coming together.
So you did some ITU for a while. Was the goal to get to the Olympics?
It was a little bit, yeah. I guess I was kind of poached. I came from a swimming background, and I got talent ID'd through the National Federation of Australia, and kind of brought up through the ITU ranks for a little bit. I did that for 3 or 4 years, I think, and then I just got a little bit burnt out. I think it's a hard way to live, the ITU, and it's kind of, you get chewed up and spit out pretty quickly, and I found that, and my race results were kind of, dwindling a little bit, and I lost the love for triathlon a little bit in my early 20s, and then I kind of not quit, but I took an extended break for, about a year almost, and then I came back and started doing some longer course stuff, which has led me to where I am today.
To me, it seems like you can be the strategy part of ITU racing, where we know how great all those athletes are, but it's a little bit of a crapshoot. You get off the bike and there's 30 guys within 30 seconds off the bike.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what makes it exciting. It's great. So exciting to watch. And I think it's going to be pretty similar on Sunday. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if there's 30 guys within, a minute of each other.
No question.
And I think it's going to be a fight to the line. Like, everyone's going to be fighting from first all the way through to, the top 60 is probably like people are like, it's not going to be split up like a typical, 70.3 or Ironman perhaps might be. I think it's going to be really close, and it's going to be almost like an ITU race where people are finishing within 10, 15, 20 seconds of each other, and it's just a constant stream of athletes.
Yeah. So this last year, before I think this had to be one of your better years. You first at Santa Rosa, and second at 70.3 Coeur d'Alene, and eighth 70.3 Worlds, which up at Nice, that was a brutal course. First at Waco and fourth at Ironman Western Australia. And I'm like, well, so we must have chatted in Kona, but fourth didn't get you a spot.
No, it didn't. There was only 2 spots at Western Australia. And, I wasn't going into Western Australia with obviously I'd love to get a slot at Kona, but it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. It was, if that happened, that was great.
Yes.
But I was just kind of going in for experience. It was my first Ironman. And most of it went pretty well until kind of the last maybe 15k of the run. Mm-hmm. I'm used to running the half marathon at the end of a bike, not a full marathon. And I was in second, feeling pretty good up until about 25k, and then I went from running 4-minute Ks, feeling pretty good, to groveling from aid station to aid station. I think trying to keep it under 5-minute Ks. Every time I saw like a 4:59, I was like, at least it's under 5-minute kilometer pace on my Garmin.
It's 4 and change.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it was a great experience, and something that I was hoping to do another Ironman this year, but obviously with everything that happened with COVID and things, that didn't happen. But yeah, here I am at Daytona. So
I love
excited to get my second race in of the year.
So 2 years ago, in 2018, you were at 70.3 Worlds in Port Elizabeth, and we had Jan Frodeno running 106 off the bike, and Javier running 107. Alistair running 107, and then Javier running 108. And you're sixth in that race, right? I mean, so that was probably one of the better races of all time, and being part of that had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing to be. Jan put on a great show. One of his probably best performances outside of his Kona win last year, I think. And to be, I was part of it for the swim and the bike. I wouldn't say I was part of it for the run. We got off, Jan and I actually got out of transition together onto the run, and I was feeling pretty good. And the first 500 meters, he's a little bit in front, and then he just took off. And I remember at that first U-turn, it must have only been about 5 kilometers in, I was already a minute behind. And I'm like I wasn't running that bad.
No.
And, I just couldn't believe it. It was I was almost watching from within the race almost.
It's like I just needed the big screen so I could be watching those 3 guys going head to head.
But yeah, it was a great race, and I had a good race there. 6th at 70.3 Worlds is not bad, and I've been top 10 a couple of times. So yeah, hopefully I've raced well in championship races before. So hopefully that's kind of a
You like the big lights.
Yeah, I do, and I think I think I kind of rise to the challenge a little bit. I like racing the big guys. It's always exciting, and I think it brings out the best in me. And I'm looking forward to bringing out the best on Sunday.
What do you look at as your best race, the best race that you've had? It doesn't necessarily even have to be a win, a race that maybe meant the most to you.
There was a race in 2015. I actually got second to Craig Alexander, but it was almost like a turning point in my career. Where I went from, going into domestic Australian 70.3s, aiming for podiums and top 5s, and then I did this race in Geelong, 70.3 in 2015, with Craig, and we went toe-to-toe for the whole run, and he ended up out-sprinting me pretty much on the finishing line. Yeah. But it was kind of like a change in my mental approach, that I was like, hang on, I can vie for wins. I can be, there's no reason why I can't win these races. Yeah. And I think that shift in my mental approach and then into my training was a catalyst and kind of propelled me to the success that I've had in the last 5 years. So.
I think it's always interesting how sometimes other people believe in you before you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where people are like, Sam, you should. You have a coach who's saying, Sam, you should win these races. And you're like, no, not
And because I grew up, idolizing guys like Craig
Oh,
Alexander,
absolutely.
and then to be in the thick of it and pushing him into the red zone, it was a special experience that kind of flipped a switch. And it's been ever since then. That was 5 years ago now. It's kind of I've just rolled on with that momentum.
What did Crowe say to you afterwards?
He was shattered. He was never the same, Crowe, after that race. He's a broken man. No, Craig and I are good friends, and
Yes.
we always laugh and things. And he was kind of supporting me as well.
Yes.
And he's been a bit of an advisor for me over the last few years as well. Just someone to bounce ideas back and
Sure.
forth. And he's a great ally to have in my corner, that's for sure.
Are there a couple of athletes who you have not raced before that you're excited to race here?
There is a few guys, like a few of the Europeans,
Yeah.
that have the wildcard slots, and I've never raced a few guys, and there's a lot of good guys out there that do well in the European races, but they don't
Right.
often travel to North America. I think that adds a different dynamic
Sure.
as well. I'm going in with so many unknowns and question marks, I think, and that's kind of exciting. I feel like, you could have a great race and you could be 10th, or you could have a great race and be on the podium. So it's kind of like, I know if I put my best foot forward, and if I race to my ability, I should be right up there. And that's what I'm aiming for on Sunday.
I remember back in the day talking to Crowe and Macca and those guys, and it's like, hey, if they wanted to be professionals, they basically, it's not like, okay, we can just fly over the weekend and go to Europe or go to the U.S. or you had to commit. Basically, I have to live in Europe, I have to live in the U.S. How hard has that been for you in terms of just, all the travel? Obviously, this year being a little different, but all the travel to try to make it as a pro.
Yeah, I think it is. Growing up in Australia, we have great sporting opportunities,
Yep.
and there's great triathlon 70.3 Ironman races in Australia as well. But I think if you really want to kind of bust onto the triathlon scene, I think it is North America. I think that's the biggest market, and I think in terms of sponsorship and things like that, it makes sense. I think there's a certain ceiling that you can hit within Australia. And once you hit that, I think you need to, travel internationally. And that's what I did. And now I live in Boulder most of the year now. It's that's kind of home for me. I spend most of my time there. I love getting back to Australia and racing as well a couple of times a year when I can. But it's the path we choose. It's if you want to be the best and if you want to succeed and have a career in the sport of triathlon, you need to travel and you need to kind of embrace that part of the job. And it sounds great traveling to all these countries and things like that, but it's not always quite as glamorous as what people from the outside may seem when you're getting red-eye flights, lugging a bike bag across countries and trying to fit it into rental cars. Exactly. But no, I love it. It's part of the sport, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Love it. Sam, it's always great to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Bob. It's been a blast.
We'll see you out there this weekend, taking down some of those ITU guys.
Let's hope so. Yep.
Sam Appleton has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob. This is the PTO 2020 Championship. Hold on, everybody. We will be right back.